Oh, I see a little thing now
Yes,
popped up on the screen that we're live.
Sabina's going live. Awesome. Yeah, thanks setting up. All right. I think we're live. It says live on Facebook. So thank you so much for joining me. I wanted to introduce Melissa, who is the current council member with the City of Dublin and running to be the next mayor, and Mr. Tim Sbranti, who is currently, who's the past mayor of Dublin and has played an important role in Dublin. And we also have Mr. Shawn Kumagai today, who's also the council member in Dublin, join. So really wanted, the Sunday with Sabina has been a casual conversation, and I've been able to invite folks, and it's made it so much more interesting, and to hear from other local leaders, to hear from people in the community. So Melissa, tell me a little bit about your campaign and how are things going, and and then we'll follow up with Tim and what he has to say about
Yeah.
our working together regionally.
No, so definitely. I've been in Dublin for over 20 years. Avid volunteer when my children entered the school district initially, and got really involved, and then ended up meeting actually Tim Sbranti, and he put me on the marketing and branding task force, and then gave me the opportunity to start really getting involved into the city of Dublin, and then was on a couple of park task force, and then moved on to human service commissioner, and then finally ran for the council in 2016. So, it's a great community to live in. It's a great community to see expand and grow, and having so much diversity and so much different types of cultures in our city is just, it's a great place to be able to raise a family. And so, being involved and seeing both of my kids going through a school district that has excellent teachers and just, excellent just schools in general. There's some older schools, but we're trying to get them kind of a more on the up to date pace. But just how our city is run is excellent. To know that we are in good standing financially, even through these difficult times. So some of the difficult decisions that the previous councils had to make, but to get us here has been excellent for not only for Dublin, for all of our residents as well. So there's some hard decisions that the councils had to make, but they had to make them for a reason. But puts us on a good standing, and we're almost at build out at about 75,000 people, and we had to get on the map, and Dublin has definitely proven itself to be part of the Tri-Valley. So, but thank you for having me here this morning.
Thank you so much for joining. It's so much of it is partnership, right? Working together. Our Billy mentioned he bikes to Dublin every single day. So I bike to Dublin all the way to Pleasanton, and we're such a region, right? We have the single road which starts at Bollinger, goes to Doherty, goes into Hopyard. So we're so connected in so many ways, and people shop and cross the city borders every single day to work together.
Well, and I also want to add, and all of us in the Tri-Valley, all the five cities, really, we're all uniquely, made up of excellent, restaurants and excellent people and just community. And so I think that really distinguishes all five cities, but us working together is such a priority, because you're not only working at the local level, but you're also working at the region level. And so I think we've really tried hard to improve every year for us to be able to work together.
Yeah, for sure. Tim, what is your perspective on, you're kind of have been a mentor to both Melissa and myself, and, guided us as we've navigated and taken leadership roles in our city. So give us a little bit background there.
Well, yeah, and I'm really excited to see both of your candidacies and to be set on part of such a distinguished panel with Councilmember Kumagai. And you couldn't have said it better about the importance of regional collaboration. I think back to my time as mayor, and those are some of the things that I valued the most, with my partnership with the other mayors and my partnership with the other cities, to really try to build up, the Tri-Valley. And that's one of the things that's attracted me now to do some work with the Innovation Tri-Valley Leadership Group, because I think when it comes to addressing, so many of our issues, whether it's economic development, whether it's housing, whether it's social services, transportation, yeah, it doesn't stop at the city borders. In fact, if you ask, obviously longtime residents notwithstanding, they'll tell you exactly where the borders are. But if you ask, a lot of residents that have come to the Tri-Valley in the last, 5, 7, 10 years, or certainly in the last couple of years, a lot of them, they don't even really think about the borders. They just think about, the region. And I'll tell you, the other thing is during these times, one specific concrete example that I can give you that is potentially, makes a huge difference. The partnership of the regional mayors and working with Mayor Abram Wilson and with Mayor Bill Clarkson is eBricks, the East Bay Regional Communication System in the event of an emergency. Where the fact that now all of our public safety agencies can communicate in the event of a disaster on one frequency, because you look at what we're dealing with the fires and so many other things. It doesn't stop at any one border. In order to respond to disasters, you need to be able to do that across the region. And that's something that specifically came out of the Tri-Valley mayors sitting down with Senator Feinstein and other leaders in Washington to advocate for the funding to build this system. And we're safer as an East Bay region. And it's because of the collaboration of Tri-Valley mayors working together. So that's just one particular specific relevant example, given what we're dealing with currently, that's important. There's so many more things that we can do together.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I had an opportunity to represent San Ramon at the mayor's conference earlier in January with the rest of the mayors. Mayor Bill Clarkson couldn't go, so as vice mayor, I got an opportunity to go. And like you said, regionalism, right? It's transportation is such a regional thing that we, Valley Link is an important one, which although it may not be coming all the way to San Ramon, we're certainly the last mile connector that we're working on. And we want to make sure that we have these transit corridors that are part of the Tri-Valley. Again, like you said, communications and the importance that we as a region are less than 500,000. And when we go for the big dollars from Washington, they look at all the big cities and they're like, they need the money. And so if we don't go together as a region, we just don't get money for even our individual cities. So supporting each other and, in getting those federal dollars, straight dollars as a region, which is less than 500,000, and getting that importance is, for me, that is really been important. So as mayors, if both Melissa and I were elected, what do you, how have you worked in the past with the regional mayors, and what do you, how do you see this, us working together?
Well, I'll say this, like you referenced Valley Link, that's a great example. So you're running, your mayor of San Ramon, Valley Link doesn't go to San Ramon, but Bishop Ranch is so key, it's such a thriving, one of the most thriving business centers in the entire Bay Area, and is only growing, and congratulations on the city center, which I think is going to even help fuel even more growth. So, but a lot of those companies that are in Bishop Ranch rely on a workforce from San Joaquin County. And if we can make those last mile connections between Bishop Ranch to Dublin, Pleasanton, Bard Station, even stronger, whether it's using autonomous vehicles on the Iron Horse Trail or figuring out other systems, bus rapid transit, other ways to connect, that's going to directly benefit San Ramon to make your employers to make that transportation connection. So that's a perfect example of something that's not in the city borders of San Ramon, yet it's going to have an incredible benefit to your business community and the surrounding area. So that's one area where as a leader in San Ramon, you lock arms with the mayor of Dublin and you advocate, for that project. And there's a lot of other examples of that too, where a company that's moving to San Ramon, that might not be moving to Dublin, but I'll tell you what, Dublin residents who are currently making the grinding commute down to Silicon Valley, when you land a big company in San Ramon, Dublin residents benefit, because instead of driving 90 minutes or 2 hours, down into the valley, they can just head into Bishop Ranch. So it's all of you locking arms and working together on all these different issues. And I know that, the partnership that the two of you have forged, if you guys are both elected, I think we'll do great things along with your counterparts in the Tri-Valley.
Thank you for saying that. And I know somebody who does that, who lives in Dublin and works in Bishop Ranch, your council member, Kumagai. So, Shawn, do you want to say a few words here and tell us what you think about, your commute and how the cities are working together?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. Well, you both know that I'm very excited about both of your candidacies and big supporters of both you, Sabina, and you, Melissa. And I'm hoping that we can get two women of color elected in our Tri-Valley cities as mayors to move forward. I think that perspective is very important. Um, I work in San Ramon for the assembly member as my day job, and I live in Dublin. I often joke that I just live 1 or 2 blocks away from the border of San Ramon. And I want to say when I first relocated to the Tri-Valley, it was because I was taking a position on Camp Parks in Dublin. And of course, I at first was looking for something in Dublin because it was very close to where I was working. But it's a very tight housing market, so I had to look at places in San Ramon and look at places in Pleasanton or other areas. And that's how people settle in and relocate into the area. They don't see city boundaries or county boundaries. They look at it as a region and how they're going to be able to work and live within this region. I know that you guys both understand that, and that you have a collaborative approach to how you're going to look at these solutions. But me working in San Ramon and living in Dublin, I want all of that to be connected and to work. From access to alternative transportation methods. I think that's something that we could really be working on. When I took that job in San Ramon, I thought, oh, maybe some days I want to hop on the bus and bus into San Ramon. Well, there really wasn't anything that worked, I mean? So I think there's some opportunities there for us to work together in terms of transportation and really connecting Bishop Ranch with the BART station. We have where I live along Doherty, and the county connection line comes right by my house, but there's no bus stop. So, maybe that's something that we can work on is, that's a Contra Costa County line to get Contra Costa residents down to the BART station, but it's running right through Dublin and right along, some key traffic areas that maybe we can find ways to lessen that congestion there. But I'm very excited for both of your guys' campaigns, and I look forward to working with you. And the last thing I'll say is that what impresses me about both you, Sabina, and you, Melissa, is that you have been working very hard, not just showing up prepared and ready to bring fresh ideas to the councils and to really study and understand the issues that are presented there and how they affect the residents, but working regionally. There's so much that happens behind the scenes, and I see both of you on so many committees and attending, California League of City, National League of City events, and as part of, I know, Melissa, you're part of the East Bay region League of California Cities division and doing good work there. And that's the kind of work that happens behind the scenes that's really going to make a positive impact, not only on your cities, but us as a Tri-Valley region. So thank you for that. And that's why I know both of you will just make tremendous mayors.
Thank you so much.
No, and I think sometimes, residents or may not understand the job of a council member is you don't just show up 2 days out of the month to those meetings. There's a lot of, work that you're doing behind the scenes. And, yes, it's always great to go to the ribbon cuttings, but it's also your job to be able to make sure that you have those communications, whether it's a new development coming in or a new, business coming in, to make sure that you're also putting your opinion in there. So it's a constant work. And again, some of the boards that I sit on it's not just locally, it's county, like Tri-Valley or Valley Link is is an excellent example. You're working with San Joaquin Valley, but you're also working with Alameda County, but potentially some of those riders will go on to other different counties as well. So again, it's not just a local office. You're also working together at the county level.
Yeah, and you're right, Melissa. Like so much happens behind the scenes. And I think what's been really important for me is having you guys on my speed dial, right? Wherever, when I can text you when we have something happening in San Ramon, and I'm able to ask you guys, how are you guys doing this? Or we have a proclamation, or there's, and we've supported each other in celebrating our different communities. Like you said, Tim mentioned, people really sometimes don't even know whether they're living in Dublin or Pleasanton or San Ramon sometimes. It's such a seamless border, as well as they will go and get their shopping done in Dublin, or they'll come to have food in city center. And yes, city center has been phenomenal. Having lived in San Ramon for now 15 years, I think we've been waiting for it since San Ramon was founded to have a downtown. But even when I moved, it was like, yeah, you're going to have the Santana Row, like, center. And we were all waiting for it because, there was nothing in San Ramon really to go to. And the city center has just changed what San Ramon looks like. And now people come and they're like, wow, you guys have all this amazing. And I'm like, it actually only happened 2 years ago, but it has really changed, how we're living in San Ramon as well, and have a place to go. And I personally don't go as much out to Walnut Creek and, out to the city, because it's right here, 5 minutes walk, or, a drive down to city center. So we've been very fortunate with that. Um, so let's segue into the campaigning, Melissa. How is that going right now with COVID? It's, I know you love to walk, I love to walk, and it's been a challenge, with the air quality, with COVID, and with everything. It's a very different election this year. So how are you running your campaign?
No, it definitely is a different election year. But with that being said, obviously our safety and our health and for our volunteers as well too, is priority. So making sure that, we're doing the phone calls and getting out there um, and fundraising in different ways, right? So whether it's Zoom or calling, it's definitely nicer to have a gathering, but it can't be done unless you have that same core group of 14 individuals. So it's just, spending more time on the phone this time. And so that's at least how I'm doing it. I'm sure other campaigns are being run a little differently. But I really just hope the residents do their homework and do their research. And there's a lot of history in Dublin. I'm sure there's a lot of history in San Ramon. So, but at the end of the day, we just want to make sure that everybody's, healthy and safe.
Yeah, I think, some of those same things, phone banking and writing postcards and reaching voters in ways which is safe for everybody. I went to the farmer's market yesterday. I don't know if it was the smartest move because I still have a scratchy throat, but I was surprised actually how many people did come up and did, talk to me. So I have to say I felt more energized because I had some human contact, which is always great. But certainly has been an interesting campaign. And for a while it's like, okay, I love those, 7 hours of walking and talking to people and, checking out the neighborhood. So now I'll drop yard signs myself so that I can go into a neighborhood, see who lives where, and really, look around and see San Ramon. I love driving around, so that's kind of been my go-to thing these days, just driving around neighborhoods and seeing, how are things looking for everybody. Tim, anything else from you in terms of, how we're working together to bring more jobs here in the region, and what we're doing to promote job growth in the Tri-Valley specifically, so that people are not commuting as much out to Silicon Valley?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to take all this. First off, just on the campaigning, real quickly, I'm a dinosaur. I don't know how well I campaigned during all this. I was, I always did neighborhood coffees and hanging out at the donut shop and just talking to folks, and so this would be a challenge for me. I don't envy you guys, but I think all the examples you're saying, you're utilizing the new technologies, and you are getting out there to the extent that you can safely. So I would encourage you to keep doing that. But as it relates to working together on creating jobs, I mean, I think, you know, every city has their own economic development initiatives, and that's always going to be the case, you know, and based on your unique conditions. But I think when it comes to like developing a medium or a large business kind of C-suite outreach program, I think that really is something that needs to be done collaboratively between all of the cities. That's something that it's challenging for any one city to do. I think every city has individual assets, but when it comes to trying to target certain companies or even to help grow certain companies, I mean, I think, you know, one of the efforts that you see, like the support of iGate over the years, even though the incubators in downtown Livermore, those companies supporting those incubators, those companies that are growing, will move anywhere in the Tri-Valley. Same with Bria, you know, the incubators in San Ramon, but, you know, if they get, you know, support, whether it's access, you know, helping them make connections, access to capital, working on, you know, connecting them business to business within the Tri-Valley, those companies at those incubators will grow. You know, the next Google has to start somewhere. So part of it is working together on some of that C-suite outreach to outside companies to bring them in. But I think organically working with those gazelles, those small companies, those medium-sized companies, those startups, and I think anything that you guys can do to continue to build up the startup culture within the Tri-Valley, which is already here. But I think really branding that, working with Innovation Tri-Valley, working together, really marketing the region as an innovation hub, that's what's going to lead to resiliency and a thriving brand that's going to benefit everybody. Also, I would say higher ed. You know, I'll put on my Chabot Las Positas Community College hat briefly. You know, as mayors, you know, working with your employers to figure out what are their workforce needs, and can the community colleges, be it Contra Costa Community College, DVC, obviously DVC has a center in San Ramon. You know, you've got Las Positas in the Tri-Valley with the district office in downtown Dublin. And, you know, finding out from your employers, you know, at Las Positas, we just launched a year to career initiative where we'll get developed certificates where that people are immediately employable, you know, working directly with employers on developing the curriculum of exactly what they need to meet their workforce needs. That's not the type of initiative that any one city can do. So I think as mayors, you know, working with your community college system, UC Merced is looking to establish a more active presence in the Tri-Valley, you know, working with them to, you know, those higher ed partnerships are the types of things that you could do. And then shifting back to my Innovation Tri-Valley hat, we're going to be launching our Vision 2040. As you both know, and you both participated in some of the planning for that, that vision is going to be launched next year. That's a vision for the entire Tri-Valley. And there'll be a number of initiatives that come out of that relative to economic development, certainly transportation. And lastly is housing. You know, I know housing always gets to be a sensitive issue, but when you talk to employers, you know, when they talk about what's their number one hurdle in terms of maintaining the employees they have or attracting new talent, it's the lack of housing, the lack of affordable housing. Again, Sabina, congratulations. You took a huge step towards that with the approval of the city center. And no one city is going to solve the state's housing crisis, but we do have a crisis, and looking to figure out what type of housing stock. I always talked about when I was mayor, you know, everyone from the custodian to the CEO, we want to find a house for them in Dublin or be some type of a unit and have opportunities for that upward mobility. And I think, Sabina, I don't know if you said it when we were live or before we went live, but I think when you said 3% of the population of San Ramon, or some really low numbers below the age of 30 or between the ages of 18 to 29, I think that's what it was.
Yes.
That's not sustainable, I think, as you know, for the long-term health of so many of these companies that you're trying to attract. So I think the city center can be a huge part of attracting younger talent, but really thinking about that demographic and drilling down as a region, that's what's going to fuel our long-term growth. And I know the two of you working together along with Council Member Kumagai and our Assembly Member and other regional leaders can help get it done. So I'm excited to work with both of you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I know we started a little bit late on the live, so I would love to take any questions if anybody on the call has, Billy or Dave or Farouk or Adil.
Sure, I'll ask a question. Hi, so Dave Owens, I'm on the Arts Advisory Committee and on the Arts Foundation. I actually live in South San Ramon, so I'm right near Dublin. So I'm a tech attorney who works in Silicon Valley, so I'm eager for tech jobs to come here. So I think hearing Tim, Melissa, and Sabina talk about that, I think that's great. So in San Ramon, there's a lot of talk that says that we're growing too fast. I think a lot of that's not based in fact, and I'm glad the city walk got passed. But Dublin is like the 11th fastest growing city in America, according to what I read. So I'd be interested to hear Melissa's thoughts on that and how you balance, I guess, that growth with trying to retain the city and not growing too fast.
Well, it's an excellent question, first of all, but so San Ramon and Dublin actually became a city about around the same time, before we were unincorporated, and your city has a higher population than we do. Yep. But I think for ours, honestly, where you can see ours more visually, we sit in between 580 and 680, and geographically, we're not as big as our surrounding cities land-wise. And so I think that also makes us look a little bit like we've grown. But you have to understand that when they're using these, they're doing them off percentages, right? So we didn't have some growth. You had the recession in 2008, and some of those projects ended up coming into play afterwards as well too. So there is a lot of stuff going on, a lot of movement going on in Dublin. But as they say, eventually we will be at build out. Our population right now is at about 65,000 people, and that's including Santa Rita Jail. But we're always trying to be mindful. I just think that these projects have taken a little bit longer. The Boulevard, it still has many houses to be built on. It was already approved years ago. So it just depends on the economy as well too. Sure. So something might have been approved years ago, but then it's slowly progressing and getting and finishing off. But again, Dublin is unique where we sit in the crossroads of the 580, 680, and we don't go out as far as, San Ramon or Livermore and in Pleasanton. So geographically, that land is just bigger than ours. Absolutely. But we're still in the Tri-Valley out of the 5 cities. I think Danville might have a little bit less population, but otherwise we're kind of a smaller population wise comparing to our neighbors.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Melissa, I had a question about your downtown. I know you guys are visioning a downtown as well. Can you share something around that with us?
Yes. So our downtown plan came into effect in 2010, and it was amended in 2012. And one of the projects and one of my goals was to get the downtown started. And I feel like we've done a great job. We've worked with a couple companies. They've come in, they've kind of helped us create a downtown. They've done surveys. They've actually had some community, collaboration. So we had the community also come and explain to us. So ours has taken a little bit longer because you have different developers that own different different sections of our core downtown. So it's not just one person owning, where you guys are fortunate to have had, the Mayrons own all that land. So it was easier to go ahead and do that. Ours is unique because we have to take a little bit longer. It's unraveling the CC&Rs that are already in place. And, but I feel like we're definitely, have the green light. We worked on it all last year. We had 5 different study sessions at our council. It was open to the public. So having that and getting it started, we'll be starting next year. So I'm excited. It's something that the community's been asking for, and we're finally giving it a go. But with that being said, it'll take many years. If you look at the downtown in Livermore, if you look at the downtown in Danville and in Pleasanton, it's been many years. It just doesn't happen overnight. So us actually putting it on paper and having the 5-0 at the council level, you're going to be seeing some changes. At least for the next 5 years, we'll be seeing some changes, but it will be a long-term project, but looking forward to it.
Yeah, Melissa, I couldn't agree more with everything Melissa said. I mean, the biggest challenge is the multiple property owners, and San Ramon having, the Marins with so much investment has been able to really let that city center come. But if you've got 6, 7, 8, 10 property owners, just say on Village Parkway alone, and then you get even the downtown core, they all have competing interests. Some really want to do things, others don't want to do anything at all. So it's you've got some tenants in long-term leases that are really cheap that don't want to move. So it's a challenge. Pleasanton and Danville had the core, they had the historic core that they've been able to build off of and do a great job. Livermore had a redevelopment agency, and right at the time that Dublin was looking, to form a redevelopment agency, they did away with redevelopment. And for those that don't know what redevelopment agencies do, it's tax increment financing that allows the redevelopment agency to take over entire city blocks and use the tax increment financing to redevelop the property. Livermore did an amazing job with that. Dublin didn't qualify for a redevelopment agency. When I got elected to the council in 2002, we tried. We didn't qualify. By the time we qualified, they did away with it. So that's just so folks have kind of the historic understanding. But with Melissa's leadership, working with Shawn and the council, I think they have crafted a vision that's going to be great for the downtown. But what I also think is important is all the downtowns are unique. And I think that's also important too. We don't all want to build the same downtown. Dublin and downtown will not look like the city center in San Ramon. The San Ramon City Center does not look like downtown Pleasanton or Livermore or Danville. They all have their unique characteristics, and when they complement each other, that just enhances us as a region. One of the things I know, working with Visit Tri-Valley, we're able to help do some of that work to help brand all of that. Maybe another regional partnership to consider down the line for San Ramon is being, getting in that and also helping with some of that regional marketing of all of our different amenities.
Absolutely. Anybody else have a question, and then we'll call it a wrap?
All right, I have something, Sabina. So first, I just want to say that I love to see this collaboration. It warms my heart to see crosstalk in the region. And I think Tim said it. I'm pretty new to the region, and I don't see the borders. Now, it's not to say that I'm not conscious as a new San Ramon homeowner, that I understand that when I purchase things in San Ramon, the tax dollars could stay in San Ramon. I understand that. But anyway, I love the regional collaboration. I'm on the Transportation Advisory Committee for San Ramon, and I also represent San Ramon on the CCTA Citizens Advisory Committee. So I'm a logistician by trade. Transit's kind of my thing. So obviously Dublin has major hubs with BART, and San Ramon, I see a challenge in transit. We have an incredible bike master plan. Our bike infrastructure is amazing, and I've seen on the TAC, County Connection, delete lines, try to compensate by expanding 35. But Sabina, do you have any visions, any ideas how do we get people out of their cars? How do we get people using transit in an area like San Ramon, where we're kind of limited right now for hubs?
I think part of it is going to be a mindset change, and and also creating the space for people. Like you said, the bike master plan, hopefully as we connect that and form different trails amongst connectors, it's make it easier for people. 35 is a very interesting story. So I used to be on TAC many years ago, and that bus was kind of my pet peeve, because I kept getting a pushback saying Doty Valley is a vibrant area where people own cars and they're not going to ever take the bus. And so lo and behold, people started showing up at the county meetings and said, we need a bus. And I love to quote this story because my friend who wears like 4-inch heels was started working in San Francisco, and she was taking the 35 bus. So and that's because we changed over the county. Does it go now every 20 minutes or 15 minutes?
20.
Yeah, 20 minutes. Yeah, it used to be every half an hour or 45 minutes. And so people really pushed hard for it. And when you can get people, in Doty Valley with big roads and 5 cars in the house, and to really want to take that bus because you made it available and the timing worked for people, That's what it takes. And I think we have to, when we make more transit available to people, we shorten the timings so that they align with the BART, right? The end-to-end commute time. If you're waiting for a half an hour bus and you miss it by a minute and then you're waiting another half an hour, people are not going to take it. So making it easy. I think some of the other things as well, BART was exploring it, the shared drives, where you could take, I forget the name of this service, an app, I don't think it's Scoop. I don't know if Scoop is still around, but that was another way where you could at least get multiple people to go together and ride to BART, because after 8 o'clock, there is no parking at BART. So I've pointed people to the Bishop Ranch buses that do go frequently. I've, talked to friends that are making it happen, but I think availability of more transit and transportation and more buses, and the more you can, promote on the TAC and on CCTA as well to make those available. I think when we have more available, and I don't think we need huge buses always. Maybe we need smaller shuttles that are running more frequently so that people can connect. And for us, it's continuing to be, solving that last mile problem for San Ramon. With the driverless buses, again, there is an opportunity that, we can eventually get those, whether using the Iron Horse Trail or any other way to meet that last mile. I think once we get the overpass in San Ramon, which is going to connect two sides of Iron Horse, it's going to change in a significant way how people cross that and go to BART. So I think I'm going to continue to push for it, because again, I'm a big proponent of making public transit available, even in the suburbs where people own cars. People want that option and will take it if it's easy for them to take it. So I think with that, we should call it a wrap. I know I want to be cognizant of everybody's time, and I did ask you for 30 minutes. So Tim and Melissa, really appreciate you, and thanks for joining, Shawn. That was a bonus for us here. Thanks Billy and Dave and Farouk and Adil for joining, and everybody who's watching us on Facebook Live. This has been an incredible conversation, and I will see you next week with Sundays with Sabina.
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you, Sabina.
Bye.
Bye.